I already was backstage chopping it up with the brother. And if you're a music lover, especially of the culture of music and the essence of integrity behind it, you're really gonna love tonight. We haven't failed you yet, and we will not fall short today. Yo, what's going on? No, I see you. Shout out to MJMG Presents. Shout out to R&B After Dark. I see everybody rolling in, and shout out to everybody on the app as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out our big viewership. Shout out to everybody in the Philippines that be sending in emails, loving the energy and the content. I know you don't get as much content as everybody on Instagram, but our love is none the same. The person, like now I gotta forewarn y'all. The person that I have today, I gotta make sure I give the super proper introduction. As a lover of the culture, matter of fact, the culture bred me to be able to conversate with someone who forefronted the many of the legacies and the acts that we do today is most definitely an honor. So I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I know y'all going to have a lot of fun. So what we're going to do real quick, we're going to go into a video, get all the wheels going. We're going to work out all the kinks, make sure everything is running, and then we're going to bring out the man of the hour. And you know my slogan, time is money, and I don't want to waste none of that from this individual. So we're going to get right to it after this. But we're going to go into Ride With Me. This has got a West Coast bound. Shout out to CMT Miraculous out of the Bay. Shout out to him. He produced this track. I'm actually on it with my boo. We just dropped this one. Shout out. I see the Bays in the building. Shout out to Golden 562. We're going to go into Ride With Me, and then we're going to come with the man of the hour. So check this out, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Jump on SHU Radio.
SHU Studio. We get busy.
Baby, you could get right with me, get high with me, get the vibe with me. You could go slow with me, take it slow with me, and never know with me. Could book shows with me, don't close with me, 10 toes with me, yeah.
Off the nightlife and highlight the hindsights. Red from sky rise, champagne off ice, metropolis lifestyle, apocalypse ice style. Pirelli's on the foreign, burning the town down. Cheers to the good life, my Cody shouts. Send a bottle to the other side, the OG route, and we good like CMT on the MPC, MVPs of the VIP. And the grind don't stop cause we pushing the limit. We don't chase no bags, we just put money in it. 10 toes of the sand or the land, don't matter where I stand, dog, I am what I am. So shout out to the Bay, but Brooklyn where I stand. MJMG, shout out to the clan. SHU, foundation of the plan, and we made it out the can, and we taking what we can.
Baby, you can get right with me, get high with me, get the vibe with me. You can go slow with me, take it slow with me, and never know with me.
SHU Studio.
Book shows with me, don't close with me, 10 toes with me, yeah.
You could be my high, I inhale the vibes, no puff pass, I blow this to the mind, and I ain't just toes, I'm 10 fingers in, so you know I got the hold, and I ain't letting go, so we could book shows and travel around the globe, I'd rather lay low, doing what we know, and we could go slow, switching up the flow, no matter where we go, ain't doing this alone.
Get right with me, get high with me, get the vibe with me. You could go slow with me, take it slow with me, and never know with me. Book shows with me, don't close with me, 10 toes with me, yeah. Yeah, but I might be gone tomorrow. Living life, no regrets and no sorrow. Yeah, but I might be gone tomorrow.
Shout out to everybody jumping on SHU Radio by way of MJMG Presents. I'm seeing all the favorites and all the normals. Shout it out. I see somebody said keep winning. Can do is most definitely we're going to keep winning. But without further ado, what we're going to do is the individual tonight that we have on the show has most definitely the accolades and the experience of the culture that we dearly love. He goes by DJ Sir T professionally. But what I want to call him is Mr. Culture himself. When I talk about the culture, we're talking about 800 million albums and CDs and sales. This man is responsible of helping to escalate the sales for many artists. I'm talking about Dr. Dre. You talking about Destiny's Child, Mary J. Blige, Eazy-E, Mariah, J-Lo. I could go down damn near every artist that we know, and this man had a say, a essence, or movement in how these records got to us. Not only that, culturally, we know music. We hear the stories of how music and hip hop got played on the airwaves with this man. I gotta stop the music for this. This man broke a hip-hop record, the first DJ to spin a hip-hop record at the age of 30. What was y'all doing at 13? Because I know y'all wasn't breaking history. Like, forget a record. The man broke history. And this is what I mean when I stress the legend and the essence of his accolades. I know it might sound like I'm amping it up. I'm actually falling short right now. For what there's need to be a documentary about this man, to be honest. I don't know how much we're gonna get into, but we're gonna get into a lot today. So without further ado, let's bring on to the set. This is DJ Sir T. Let's get a round of applause. Hey, my brother, how you doing?
What's up, my man?
Man, first and foremost, I want to thank you for jumping on the show today. I see everybody rolling in. I'm seeing the fire emojis. Everybody's ready for this conversation. But I want to thank you. I'm excited, man. But before we get in depth, because there's so many places we could go, could you please take me to the 13-year-old? I got to hear that story of the 13-year-old spinning a record, especially, and I got to give context for the viewers. Hip hop wasn't as predominantly known and respected and craved for at that time. So what he did was take a chance on us. I got to give perspective to the audience, but could you walk us through that moment?
Well, check this out. I used to imitate, I had peeped Frankie Crocker's show one time, and I really liked it. And then I used to listen to like Wolfman Jack, because they had a station out of Mexico, I believe, that you could hear on the whole Western United States. I mean, this thing boomed. You didn't hear a lot of R&B back then, because these pop stations just didn't play it. Once in a while, you get like Whispers later on, or Peaches and Herb, I think. But it wasn't really no black music on the radio, and everything was genre oriented. Like back in the day, it was a black music division, country music, rock and roll. Now, if you look at one of these kids' playlists, man, they'll go from Garth Brooks to Ice Cube, just like that, and then to Linkin Park. So it's like there's really no format, and it's good because it's just proved that music is life and it's culture. And no matter what genre you listen to, it's music, man. And everybody has a story and everybody can relate to something. There's a song about everybody. And that's just like, so when I was getting back to when I was 13, so I used to pretend to DJ. So then, I didn't even have a real system. I don't even think I had Technique 1200s. I had a little Magnavox that had the cassette, the record player, the 8-track, and I used to flip knobs and go back and forth with. And then I came out with the realistic mixer, and from Radio Shack, and I think Technique had the D93s were the first ones that they dropped. So those were before the 12s. I used to use those, but I was DJing my cousin's party, and it's a trip because like I had a cousin. I didn't even know she was my cousin. One day she hit me up. She's like, "I'm your cousin." I'm like, "How you my cousin? You black?" And she's like, "Well, your dad, my aunt, he's married to." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So she was my cousin, and I'm like, she had a party, and see, I was always into music, and everybody knew that because my aunt had a huge collection. So did my mom, and I used to snatch their records. Al Green, the Spinners. I used to listen to all that stuff, and so one day I'm DJing this party, and then my cousin had this hot little Latina friend named Lydia. And Lydia's older sister, Sissy, was dating this dude named Ruben, who owned the record store. And he was an older dude. And then, they had just came on the radio. This was like in late 78. It was a country formatted station. And at nighttime, they would play, old school, but now it was R&B then. Gap Band, Lakeside, none of that was old school then. It was all brand new R&B. Yeah. And, they would play all that stuff. Lakeside, I don't think it was even, it might have been out, I'm not sure, but I think it was. But, stuff like that, Parliament. So Sissy heard me and she said, I got to get my man come hear you. So he heard me and he's like, once you come onto the station, so and I got a call the next day from a dude named Dan Bigelow. It's a white dude. And he's like, once you come out and hang out, you can answer phones. So I went out there the first night, started answering phones. And the next night, they're like, you want to talk? And granted, man, I always imitated, trying to be a DJ. So I jumped on the mic, phone lines went bananas. Everybody started calling. And, because I just had that DJ vibe and the voice. And so, next thing I knew, I was running that station 5, 6, 7 nights a week. And,
Wow.
it was a country format station, little old white lady named Jean Jones. I'll never forget her, or her engineer, and the GM, Bill Lambert. They hated the music. I mean, Miss Jones used to tell me, well, they didn't hate it, but Miss Jones said, this is a fad. This disco, this rap is going to play out. And I'm like, nah, you know what? It's not, Miss Jones. I said, this is real. So she took a chance on me. She let me do what I wanted to do. The next thing we knew, we were the only station between LA and the Bay that played black music. And there was no black radio stations out here at all. We weren't even a fully black radio station because it was, like I said, it was owned by a white lady. But we started playing that music. Back then, you had KGFJ in LA and you had KDIA in Oakland. And those are the only stations that played black music. So when it comes to DJs that basically started, that type of music out here, it was me. Shortly after me, Nasty Ness in Seattle. There was a DJ out of Merced or Modesto called Dr. Sweet. And he played on some little station over there. He would play, he had a little nighttime show. And then you had like DJ Flash, which was the first white rapper, came into KTKR. And that was at a Taft, which was outside of Bakersfield. And he'd come on in the daytime. It was a daytime AMer. Same thing, country format, but he'd play R&B and hip hop at night. I mean, in the daytime. And you never hear this because there were two different broadcasting companies, and we actually cross promoted each other. So me and Flash became really good friends. But man, it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it opened opportunities for me as a street promoter as well because I was a DJ. So when artists would see this, they would trip like, man, this kid is like killing it out here. Al Heyman hired me. I was a runner for Al Heyman before he was Floyd Mayweather's promoter. He was a concert promoter. So I worked for him, for Billy Graham. We had artists like Confunction coming through and these artists like that. And, I just got to know a lot of people and made a lot of the right connections. I was basically blessed, put in a lot of situations that made it really dope,
Nah, that's amazing, especially for the time and the essence. People putting the fire emojis. That most definitely is great. When was the moment that you said, this is what I'm gonna do? Like, this is it right here.
I knew what I wanted to do the first time I heard music, man. I just wanted to be in that music business. I wanted to be on the radio, and my dream came true early, man. I mean, how many people get to have a career? And granted, I'm still doing this. I started this in '78 officially, and it's 2025, and I'm still doing it. Still doing concerts, still working records. And the money ain't what it was, bro. Not at all. But it's just I've been blessed to do what I love to do. Because music is life, man.
You've been doing that my whole entire life. Like, I was born in '79. Like, you've been doing this my whole entire life, and I feel like I've been doing music my whole entire life. So that is amazing. When was the time that the situation with radio and breaking radios actually amplified to like the industry itself and crossing with like the artistry and the business of it?
Well, in the '70s, that's basically started in the late '70s. So you had books like Black Radio Exclusive, which was like the Billboard. You had like later on you had like Jack the Rapper. You had certain books. Then you had R&R, all these records. But basically, it all became it. Back then, you could take a record that was hot, and what I used to do is I take a record, I listen to it, and I'll tell you a story on how I started getting free records in a minute. But I would listen to a record. If I liked it, I'd play it. If my phone lines went crazy, it was a hit. It wasn't under this corporate pay $350,000 to get on the radio to break your record. None of that. It was all the love of music, and people like me had, before these giant corporations like iHeart came in and ruined the whole game. You'd have somebody like me. I was playing whatever I was feeling. I could take an album cut. I could take a B side, play whatever I want. Now everything is dictated. It's all you got some dummy in New Jersey calling shots for California that knows nothing about the market. And it's all
Nothing.
about money. It's all about money and numbers, man. It's a joke now. You can't even play what you want to play. And that's where radio went bad. And see, when I started at a time when AM dominated. AM radio was the shit. There was no FM. And there was FM, but FM was real. Nobody listened to FM. It was all AM radio. And the station I was at, the KCHJ, if we didn't turn it was non-directional. So if I didn't turn that signal down at night, that thing would boom into Idaho. I used to get calls because I forget to turn the transmitter down at night from like Seattle, Washington, from Idaho, like Montana. I'm like, man, you're blowing us out. These radio stations, you're blowing us out here. So I'd have to turn the signal down. Sometimes I just left it on because I didn't care. I was a kid, man. I was like, I want to be defiant, I want them to hear me in Canada. And that's what we did, but that was fun times, man.
You have a big accolade of artists. I mean, TLC, Eminem, even Biggie Smalls, Big Pun, Ghetto Boy, Scarface. I could go on and on. When was or who was that one artist that when you spun that record, you made a major impact, or your favorite impact that you made spinning records?
Oh man, there's been so many. Egyptian Love of Egypt, man, the floors, dance floors, request lines used to go bananas. Rapid Delight when that first came out. When I first played King Tim the Third, which was the first rap record, people would call me, man, hey, who's that? Who's that? Because it was different. Ain't nobody had ever heard rap before. It's been so many records, like Cypress Hill, Latin Community, Dug That, Big Pun. I mean, it just Gangstar. I mean, I was never one of those DJs that, if it was hip hop, I loved it. East Coast, West Coast, didn't matter to me. Just music is music, If it had that vibe and that beat, I was feeling it. I was playing it,
Most
I think
definitely.
I told you earlier, the only record I ever hated was Cool Like That. I did not like that record, man. And I told Electra Records because I was working for them too. And I'm like, man, I don't want to work this shit. I did not like that. I still don't like that record, but hey,
He's
it is
like,
what it is,
man, I had to tell him I don't like this. Now, you mentioned working with Electra Records. How close was radio and working with the record labels was at that time?
Well, it was like this. So I started basically as a street promoter, doing a lot of record company street team stuff. Jerry Heller, God rest his soul, man. A lot of people talk shit about Jerry. A lot of the shit you saw in the movie wasn't true. If it wasn't for Jerry, none of this shit would ever happen. He was probably one of the major forces and one of my biggest mentors. The only thing Jerry, in my opinion, did wrong, Jerry should have paid Cube. Cube was talented, man. And, and Cube, look at him now, man. He's still the GOAT.
Yeah.
He's still the West Coast GOAT. Ain't nobody can see Cube. And if Jerry would have recognized that and paid him, there would have been no death row. And Ruthless would still be running and Easy might still be alive, you know?
Wow.
It's sad, because once Tamika got control, she ran that shit straight into the ground, man.
Yeah, he did. And so you worked on, you said the street team? What was that? The
Yeah, I did. I started street team. So I used to be out, I'd have all the product. One time I was getting paid by 33 record labels, 17 brands, and 5 motion picture companies to promote their shit. We launched Fox Network when they came out with Married with Children, Living Color, and what was the other one? The Simpsons. And then I did I've done projects for Coca-Cola, FUBU, for every clothing line you can think of, Fat Farm, Sean
Sean
John,
John,
Kangaroo,
Mecca.
everything hip hop related and clothing lines I've done. Almost every single record company I've worked for at one time or another. Sometimes I'd have them all at the same time. I was one of the few that actually worked for Death Row, Bad Boy, Priority, Cash Money, No Limit, and Ruthless at the same time. and they didn't trip on each other because they knew I handled business. You know, my heart was always with Death Row and Ruthless. So, you know, those were my two favorites. Priority, Columbia was always great to work for. I never liked Puffy. I worked there because of my boy Jay Stock and my boy, what was my other boy? It was like before Stock. Um, can't think of his name off the top of my head, but Mario, Super Mario.
Okay.
You know, so a lot of them were my boys. So I did Bad Boy, but Bad Boy didn't pay. I never went, and I never went to them parties. I went to the parties at they had the
I
convention.
ain't never been to them
Went to go
parties.
get my money, went to get my t-shirts, whatever product they would give me, go eat. I never stayed for them. None of them Diddy parties, bro.
I get
Nobody
you.
always asked me that, man. You know?
I get you. Now, the industry compared to now is a completely shift, and you mentioned something about iHeart ruining the business per se for radio. Could you talk a little bit about that from an insider's perspective to give our viewers some kind of insight of what you directly meant by that?
Okay, so I heard when they came in the game, I think they came in as Clear Channel. They tried to monopolize everything, half everything, and they did. And they failed a lot over the years, and they filed bankruptcy. But the reason they don't fold is because they buy clusters. So they might buy a Sacramento cluster. If that doesn't do good, they file bankruptcy or sell it off. And it's just that part of the business. But they have people that have no clue on running radio, not in touch with the streets. They don't know. I mean, a radio station is only successful because of their market. And what happens in New York is not what's happening in LA. What happens in LA is not what's happening in the Bay. What's happening in the Bay is not what's happening in Bakersfield or Fresno.
Yeah.
So it's important to have local personalities. When you go automated radio, and when you have one dude in Boston programming for LA that has no clue of the market, they have whack DJs with no personalities, you don't win. Radio wins when they have the local touch, when they have the beat of their community. And, when they play the jams. And when you take away that power from the program directors and the DJs and the mix show DJs that can actually play what people want to hear instead of the same 20 songs every hour, But, those 20 songs are bought and paid for. Radio didn't used to be like that. And iHeart was the example of the company that just effed up the whole game, bro.
It did. It did. Now, you mentioned Cypress Hill. And there was a moment when Cypress Hill was kind of struggling. And you actually revived that.
Yeah, that's a matter of fact. Doug Young talked about that in a Murder Dog interview. So what happened was back when that Cypress Hill came out with Funky Phil, and that was their first single. I was working for Ken Wilson in Columbia, which is the vice president or the president of Columbia at the time, Columbia Sony, and the Black Music Division. And then I was working for Buzztone Management, Adrian Miller, which is behind the success. Adrian's another G that I got to come up with. He used to work at Buzztone, and he was, behind the management beside Cypress Hill. And then I worked for Roseman and Chris Schwartz and Joe Nicolo at Rough Nation, or Rough House before it was Rough Nation.
Okay.
And Jello. And so I was getting paid by all of them, man. So that's how lucky I was. I was blessed, man. And Ken Wilson called me. He said, T, what are we going to do about this Cypress, man? It's bombing, dude. We're getting, it's just, nobody's feeling it. And about the same time I got that call from Ken, the product manager for Sony called my counterpart from my comrade Doug Young, which was when we're together at Ruthless, we're together at Death Row. He's another one of the G promoters. A little bit older than me, a lot older than me. Doug, you old. But, he was one of the few promoters that was smart because he was getting more money than all of us. But they hit Doug Young up and they said, we're getting truckloads of these Cypress Hill records coming back. We don't know what to do. And, he got that call the same time I got the call from Ken. So what I told Ken, I was like, Ken, first of all, we're playing the wrong record. We need to flip it to the B side and go with How I Could Just Kill a Man, because they just not feeling Funky Phil. It's just too nasally. Nobody was used to B-Real's voice at that time, which became a legendary voice.
Yeah.
But at that time, they weren't feeling it, and they thought these dudes were like Puerto Rican, or they didn't know what they were. And like I told Doug, I like man, let we and Doug had talked. So let's break this record. You know how we're gonna break it? Let's take it to the lowrider community. And in Cali, the lowrider community is predominantly Hispanic, but you have a lot of black lowriders as well. So we hit all of them, man. We took it straight to the Latino market and the lowriding community. And man, we flipped that record. My DJs jumped on that, and I controlled all the radio mix shows on the West Coast pretty much because I had the record pull at Jam City. We'll talk about that. But that record just took off, man. And look at them now. They're still killing.
They might not have been here if it wasn't for that move right there. We probably wouldn't. It could have been the end of them then. Now, you had an extensive time in the music industry, an extensive time. Was there ever a moment in time, business-wise, it got discouraging? And if it did, how did you maneuver out past that?
Oh, man, 2000, right after 9/11, bro. I went from having 37 record companies paying me, 33 or 37, I don't remember. And I went from 17 brands, and I'm sorry, I'm putting my phone on the charger because it's tripping on me.
No problem.
17 brands and 5 motion picture companies. And I went from getting crazy money, I was making over $250,000 a year after I paid my staff, to damn near nothing in 90 days. So it got really, really frustrating, and I thought I thought I was getting blackballed, but turns out that, the record company, we were getting too powerful. The Latinos and blacks that were in the game were just getting too powerful for these record companies. They didn't like it. So they went with these kids straight out of college and started calling them brand ambassadors that didn't have a clue on how to work a record, man. You can't just go take flyers to Walmart, throw them on every car, and think that you're going to have a hit. You got to have people, you got to have relationships, you got to have the clubs, you got to have the radio stations. And then when you go hit with your street team shit, you got to hit the right locations with the right demos, because every place has different demos. Every song has different demos.
Yeah.
It just depends on what audience you're targeting. And if you don't target the right audience, you're not gonna be successful, man.
This is so true. This is so true. Now, for the market now, for artists that are possibly on right now, what do you think is the biggest mistake artists do now compared to then with the knowledge that you have?
Well, my experience lately has been, the artists now, I'm going to keep it real. The talent's just not there. There is a few that are talented, though. They have dope records, but they have no access. Either they got burned by a shady promoter. That's why you should always do your background before you hire anybody to work your record. If they ain't been at the table the last 30 years, they're not going to help you. So that you got to hire a G that's got that track record. You got to quit spending money at the clubs, popping bottles, trying to floss and look good. And you got to invest in your career. You need to grind, stay in that studio. You need to be out there promoting yourself. If you don't promote yourself, how can you pay somebody like me and expect me to believe in you if you ain't doing it yourself?
Yeah.
You got to be hungry, man. It's eye of the tiger, baby. If you ain't got that, if you ain't willing to put in the work, get your hands dirty, you ain't never going to make it, man. And you got to sound different. You can't sound like everybody else.
That's a big one.
What they want is different. That's why these artists that blow up, a lot of them are unique, and you got to get your social media presence together. Your Facebook, your Instagram, your social Snap, whatever you got, TikTok. It's got to be on point, man. You got to have content. And you got to be able to promote yourself. If you can't do that, you're never gonna make it. Either that, or you're gonna get lucky, and you have one record that just takes off. But that's like a 1 in
that's
300,000 chance.
Yeah. That's not an easy one no more. Not especially in this climate. Not at all. Not an easy one. So, we speak about the business then and the business now. There was a thing that you mentioned earlier, and you said the record pool. And I know you had Jam City record pool. Could you talk a little bit about that and the importance of what that did?
Okay, so DJs used to pay a gang of money for records. What the record pools did was it's like a club. It's kind of like Columbia House. Like how you remember back in the days to get them tapes. But you would come every month, you pay a certain fee, and you get everything that came out, because the record companies would send me everything because they know the DJs are going to play the records. So all the records come to me free. We charge the DJs, and we hook them up. We give them everything. And, the reason we started Jam City is because, like I said, everything was separated by genre. You had like black pools, you had top 40 pools. We were more like black R&B, hip hop. We played some dance music. But the reason we started the pool is because all the black pool directors like uh, Foot, Danny Foot James at Impact in LA, Eardrum at Tables Distinction in DC, Al Pizarro in New York, Soul Disco in San Francisco. There was a pool called the Pros, which Rico Casanova ran out of Oakland. Rico looked like Pinky from Friday. And none of the black pool directors liked him, man. They thought he was cocky. They thought, granted, dude did his thing. I can't take that away from him. I didn't like him either, though, because those are my homies. My homies didn't like him. I don't like him either. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then he was trying to come into my market, and the black pool director like, T, you need to start a pool. You and Rodger. So me and Rodger, I think we even Greg Mack helped us out a little bit on it as well. So we started a pool. And what I did different, and I think it's what sets us apart from all the other record pools, and I think we've got the greatest record pool history, and we'll probably go down as the greatest of all time, because we were a radio mixer record pool. I went after all the radio DJs. I set up radio DJs, got radio DJs I knew, or DJs I knew into radio. So, everything as far as record sales is based on SoundScan, which is how many times you slide across the bar scanner. At retail, and it's BDS and media base. BDS used to be the primary, and media base was a secondary, but now it's flipped. But that's the spins on how many times the radio station played it in this market, what time. We controlled that. We control the entire West Coast. I could get more spins out of my DJs in my market, which were Jam City DJs, than the top 10 markets put together, combined. And that's what got me a lot of my juice to where labels had no choice but to come to me if they wanted to break a record. And, my market, Fresno, Bakersfield, Stockton, that's always been the biggest breakout market in the country, followed by the Bay. If the record's going to break, no matter if it's the East Coast or West Coast, it's going to come out of Central Cali or Northern Cali. And, I recently had to check a famous, well-known program director in LA that tried to claim, number one, he tried to claim he was the youngest PD in history. Like, dude, I was 13, man. Miss me with that. And then he tried to claim how LA's broken all these records. LA hasn't broke a record and never did break a record. The only time that they broke records was when Greg Mack had KDAY. Other than that, no records got broke out of LA. And then, you get occasional records would come out of KGGI and Riverside because Grover Wembley, which is a huge record store owner and real popular in that community, had a little bit of juice over there. So you hear a lot of records there in LA before you hear them at any other LA station. But everything was always after Central Cali and the Bay. Everything's come out of this market. And it's been like that since the beginning, since I started. This has just always been a breakout market.
Gotcha. Thank you for clearing that up. They do got a question from the chat, and they were asking, how is your relationship with radio now?
I can get records played on 2 or 3 stations, maybe 5. That's about it, man. I mean, like I said, they gaffled up the game. They don't share the money. They don't, it's all greed, man. Unless you got $350,000 to work your record, you don't have a chance, man. And everything's bought and paid for. It's not. It's kind of like the NFL, man. Used to be a game, now it's an entertainment company. Everything's scripted, like WWE. That's how radio is, man. That's why you hear the same 20 songs over and over and over. If a DJ had control, then you would hear the jams. You would hear stuff that should be getting played. There's a lot of you artists out there that got talent, man. You just have no outlet, or you have nobody like me, or you have, you're lazy. It's one of the 3. I mean, and I'm gaming that most of you guys just don't have the outlet, because that seems to be the biggest problem. The outlet, the money to promote it, a good promoter. You gotta have all that. And it's sad for this young generation, because you basically got to get lucky. And you also got to have that social media presence.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible now, unless you're completely unique and just come with some fire that nobody can deny.
Yeah.
I see a lot of records that right now I could work that would be straight hits. but they ain't got the money to promote it. And, I can't get it done for free, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, because going up the ladder,
Yeah.
that's the game. They asked, "Do you do consulting?"
Yes, I do.
There you go. Yes, he does.
I do
Ne-
entertainment consulting, radio consulting, concert consulting. And, like everybody always sends me, they email me or they message me their records. I don't listen to those, man. If you want me to consider your record, you got to shoot a deposit. You got to send me a little note, say, hey, here's some money. I want you to listen to my record. If I like your record, then I will credit that. And I'll work it. I'll give you a review. I'll let you know what you need to do. If I think you're ready, if you're not ready, I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, man. Because not all money is good money. And I ain't the type I've never been the type to have to look over my shoulder because I took money when I shouldn't have. So it's like, if you want it done right, you don't want to get burned. Otherwise, you're going to have these promoters that tell you, oh, yeah, we can make it happen. No. Like I
Yeah.
said, if they've been at the table for at least 30 years or longer, don't even waste your time, man, because they don't have the pull to get that done. You know?
True indeed. There's on this show. There's only one question that we ask everybody. We just conversation based, and the conversation is, if you could talk to the young T, the younger version of yourself, and tell yourself something about your journey, whatever it is you want to share, what would you share and why?
Oh, let me see, man. There's a lot of things. I would have produced a lot more records. I would have got into record labels, opened my own label because I had so many artists that I could have signed that, I could have done it all myself and been a multi-billionaire, because I've touched pretty much everything. I looked at the top, records of all time, and I probably got paid for 97, 98% of everything, R&B and hip hop from 79 on, and it's crazy, but I would have just invested more in myself. I would have paid more attention, not focused so much on women and focus more on my career, because I was out there partying, living it up. And, I should have been just investing. I should have been in the studio grinding, should have signed artists. That's what I would do. That's what I'd do different.
Gotcha. We got another question. You intrigue in the chat. We got another question, and they're asking, how was your experience working with Death Row?
You know what, man? I'll tell everybody this. Suge, I heard a lot of shit. I've seen a lot of shit. But Suge has never treated me disrespectfully. The man has always paid me well. And, I don't agree with every one of his life decisions, but I don't bite the hand that feeds me. And Suge used to take care of me. He paid me good. He appreciated my work. He thanked me, treated me with respect. So I can't say nothing bad about the man. The only thing I was mad at him, I'm not going to lie, that me and Scotty D. Spencer, he's another OG from LA. You really got to talk to Scotty. Matter of fact, I'm going to hook you up with Scotty and I'm going to hook you up with DJ Flash because those are two people that you definitely need to interview. Doug Young as well. But me and Scotty were supposed to get a check from Terry, the owner of Antra Records, the one that Suge ran over that day.
Yeah.
$350,000 to work the NWA movie. Or we're going to pick up the check the next day. He died.
Oh,
He died.
man.
So that hurt. I was mad at Suge for that. But that's really it, man. I can't, like I said, I ain't got nothing to say bad about the man because he never treated me like shit. Nothing but respect. Always paid me good. So, I'm just not that type. If the man didn't do me dirty, I ain't throwing no shade on him,
Gotcha. I know you mentioned Death Row and Ruthless kind of being like home base in your favorite. And the reason why I'm asking, what was your favorite entity to work with?
Well, Ruthless gave me my start. So they're the one that basically, Jerry's like, he told me, one day I told him, Jerry, I think I'm going to go work for Death Row. He's like, so you going to leave me? I said, no, man, I'm not going to leave you. But he's like, dude, why? He told me this, I know you heard this saying, why are you going to run down the hill and bust up all them cows when you can walk down and bust them out?
Yeah.
Instead of that one cow, you know what I mean? And that was the best piece of advice I ever got because I became an independent promoter at that time. Then, my income like went 100-fold, man. I started working for everybody. And then I would deliver because I had the pool and I could deliver everything I promised. So they just kept hiring me, and it got to the point where if you want a record played out there, you're gonna have to pay, simple as that. And that's what they had to do for a long time, you know.
As a industry person who big on radio and breaking acts, there was a moment, there was a lot of propaganda, a lot of media press on this East Coast, West Coast, yada yada yada. But how do you feel as a record promoter, record a DJ, someone in the industry? How did that affect the radio market out in the
It,
West?
it didn't. It didn't. They fed off of that, man. They fed off of that, and it's sad because a lot of that shit caused a lot of drama. Like with Pac and Biggie, that was unnecessary. There's been so many unnecessary incidents, but this industry is evil, man. I've got two daughters that can sing. I never let them get in the game because I already knew. You think Puffy's the only one? No, Puffy's
No.
one of them. It
Yeah.
started with Bob Davis, Tommy Mottola. These guys are, man,
Yeah.
it's sick, man. It's satanic, bro.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's sad that blacks and browns still killing each other with some bullshit. But that was this thing really started because of jealousy. And when Death Row was in Atlanta, and when Bad Boy Camp killed Jake, that
Yeah.
started all that shit.
Yeah.
So if it wouldn't have killed Jake, it would have probably blew over. That's why you have people calling Snoop a sellout. Snoop just didn't want to get killed, man.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's just it was unnecessary, man. Because but one thing I will say, and I saw it, is the East Coast didn't show the love that the West Coast did. West Coast embraced East Coast artists. It wasn't like that on the East Coast for a long time.
Yeah.
It started to get there, and thank guys there now, but there for a long time there was just a lot of haters on the East
Yeah.
Coast that just wouldn't give the West any love.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I recently, and I say this all the time in most of my interviews. The moment that I actually got to go to the West Coast, I remember sitting in a cipher in someone's backyard that I didn't even know. I met him on the fly, and I'm in the backyard, and the conversation of the culture, and I remember calling back home, and I'm like, yo, they were upset with us because we neglected the love, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like when we was so full of ourselves over here, we didn't even realize that's what a lot of not just the West Coast, but the South and everybody, we were just so full of ourselves, we didn't understand the love, man. And it took me when I went out there, I was like, man, they got a whole different appreciation for the music.
Yeah. See, I was blessed with because I got to listen. I listen to stuff, man. Like, one of my favorite New York rappers is Diamond D, and I think he's underrated as hell. I think Diamond D is one of the dopest East Coast rappers, and he's never really gotten the props. And then he flipped that to the West Coast, Dub C.
Yes,
Dub
that's
C is
true.
sick,
That's
man, but
true.
Dub C's never got the props that he deserves. Those are two of my favorite East and West Coast rappers.
They
You
could be
know, and
they could be cousins in like music
man,
sense.
I'm telling you, bro. And that it's just like music. Once you got the love, like, man, I love Gangstar, I love Wu Tang, I love Nas. I mean, I like Biggie. I mean, it's just so much of this. And the sad part is Biggie and Pac were cool, man.
They were cool.
And
Yes.
the jealousy, the haters, a lot of this shit that instigates that happens is because of jealous people that hate their lives, man. So they want to instigate shit. And that's what happens in the hip hop game. It happens in everyday life, man.
Yeah.
You're always gonna have them haters. They hate you because they ain't you, man.
Yep. You
You
gotta be
know,
very careful about
you
if you could give advice to up and coming artists from your experience, especially in that aspect of the game, what could you share to an artist in this day and age about, just being careful in this game?
watch who claps for you and who just looks at your shit. The ones that clap for you, those are your people. The ones that are proud when you win, those are your people. The ones that just stand by and look, or just there for the ride, you can spot the haters, man. Just pay attention to your surroundings. Because a lot of haters are so-called friends, you know? And it's the ones that really got love for you that you don't even know. Those are your biggest fans.
That's real talk. That's real talk. Great advice. Great advice. Let me stop the music real quick. We know we're in the era of everybody getting their flowers. Like, that's the big conversation now. Everybody getting their flowers. But here on MJMG Presents SHU Radio, we like to give our honor because flowers do die. And I want to take this time to give you your honor, not just for how you preserved and the integrity of the game of the culture, but for the journey and the people that you affected that to this day that a lot of us get to enjoy. You might not understand the depth of how instrumental and how direct their lineage, their legacy still is in effect for you. And I know many times, in many instances, you don't get the full capacity of what you deserve for what you've done. There's people who even try to take the credit for what you've done. But today we want to give you the credit for this culture that we love, for the seeds of talents that you've nurtured throughout the time of generation that probably goes beyond our conversation that we know. So we want to give you your flowers and your honor right now, my brother, for what you've done for this, for the duration of many of our lives. You've done it longer than some of us been living. And I don't think, and I do not take that lightly. I live and breathe this. This is my post. So to be among someone who's had the post going for so long, you probably even resurrect some of the posters and shock some posters back to life that I look up to now or watched on TV. I may have not had the moment and the essence to even see some of the things that I watch now if it wasn't for you. So I want to thank you for that, my brother.
I appreciate that, man. And real quick before you go, I appreciate what you guys are doing, keeping the culture alive. I think programs like yours are dope, and people need to see that because there's so much gaslighting in the hip hop game. I mean, there really is. People that weren't there, and I'm the type. Like I said, I was always humble until recently, and I'm like, man, well, make me put you on blast, and I started putting them on blast because people got to know the truth, man. And then also, there's a couple of books. The only two true stories that are legit without any gaslighting that you need to look for. And there's a book coming out before Thanksgiving. It's called The Echoes Never Die by DJ Flash, which was the first white boy rapper before any of them, before Beastie Boys, before Third Base or Vanilla Ice. He was the first. And he's got that coming out, The Echo Never Dies, book 1 and book 2. And then Scotty D. Spencer, which is another, OG that goes back that, repped LA in the Lancaster area. That's my brother from another mother, but he's got a book out called How the West Was Won and a documentary. You need to check that because those are going to give you the factual stories of West Coast and like no other, and the beginnings of hip hop out here.
I'm most definitely want to tune into that. Again, I'm a student of this game, man. So I most definitely want to fool my brain with that. If there's people who want to reach out to you, consulting, work with you, possibly book you, get your opinion, what's the best way for people to get to you and reach you?
They can hit me up on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. It's under Todd Welch 13.
Yeah, I heard that. I saw there was a Miss Jackson took care of it. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation to answer Tatiana's. They was asking for the Instagram, but shout out to Miss J. She was monologuing in the chat. Before I let you go, my brother, just in the essence of your experience and everything, could you share some wise words to not only me, but everyone in the chat and everyone listening on Google TV, Apple TV, and all the TVs, just some inspirational words to keep going. Like, hopefully a lot of us can have the long journey and legacy that you have in life and in business and in everything. But if you could share some wise words, my brother, we would be greatly appreciated.
Well, what I like to do, man, is you got to remember, if you hang out with thugs, they're going to label you as thug. You hang out with druggies, they're going to label you as a druggie. You hang out with a hoes, they're going to label you as a hoe. So you got to watch your surroundings. You got to watch who you hang with. And if you want it, man, don't ever let anybody, no man, no woman, don't let nobody stop you, man. Don't give up on your dreams, because either you're going to make your dream happen or you're going to pay, or somebody else going to pay you to make their dream happen. So you got to go grind, man. It ain't always easy, but you just got to get up, man. And you got to keep getting up. You're never going to win at everything, but you got to be strong enough to get back up and keep trying until you do. And if you grind, if you want it bad enough, you're going to get it.
If you want it bad enough, you're going to get it. Don't stop and keep going. Don't stop and keep going. Before I do let you go, what you got working on now? Is there anything that people could be in the lookout for? I swear you need a documentary, but that's a different story. But what you got going on right now and some of the stuff that people could look out for?
Well, I do a lot of stuff with Eagle Mountain Casino out of Porterville. I do a lot of stuff with Thunder Valley and SAC. I do a lot of stuff with Pacific Concert Group. So a lot of concerts. Matter of fact, Saturday I got one in SAC and one in Porterville. I don't know where I'm gonna be at. I got Brett Young here in Porterville, the country artist. Then I got E40, Too Short, Dog Pound, Loonies, and all them in SAC at Thunder Valley. I'm gonna definitely help you with this Noah record. That's one of my old artists. I wish he would have had the budget, but now that he's with you, he's finally got a team behind him because the last team just didn't know what was up, man. So I'm glad somebody like you guys are going to be working with him because at least his media aspect will definitely be handled. And he's always needed that,
Shout out to Noah. Yeah, we cooking up some stuff.
So Noah's dope. I really don't have any artists I'm working right now. I got a couple of things that I'm looking at. But right now, a lot of concerts, a lot of consulting businesses, teaching them how to blow up. A shout out to my daughter Valerie because, she watched me market and promote my whole life. Man, she started a lemonade business, bro. This thing is blowing up.
There we go.
I'm like, damn, it's called the Lemon Love Shack. It's out here in Visalia, Cali. If you want to check it out, Tulare, California. But yeah, it's blowing up. And like I said, I consult a lot of local businesses as well. Music is just not what it was. I mean, I get projects here and there, but still can make them happy. But a lot of people just don't have the money to push them, man.
I get you completely. But my brother, man, thank you so much let's give you another round of applause, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your journey, your knowledge and your information. And I personally want to thank you for keeping what we love, and not even keeping, adding the pulse and the energy to what we love, that we are able to see it to this day. Thank you so much, my brother.
I appreciate it, man. Stay up.
You have a blessed one. Stay up, my brother.
You too, man.
Shout out to everybody that's on right now. That was super dope. The brother DJ Sir T, Todd Welch. He goes by DJ Sir T, the 13-year-old. He was 13-year-old in 1979 to play the first hip-hop record on a white label. That's very instrumental. And he's talking about before, I think it was like 5 months before they played, Rapper's Delight and all that. So shout out to him, and he's been very instrumental. Again, just to give a little say to his accolades, he worked with Cypress Hill, Wu-Tang, NWA, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, Bone Thugs and Harmony, E40, Nate Dogg, Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Lauryn Hill, Jay-Z, Biggie, Scarface. I mean, can I end? Can I end the list? The list goes on. But shout out to him, man. If you didn't get anything from today, take this. Integrity and passion have to run parallel. When you love something, you have a responsibility to it. And not only a responsibility to it, you have a responsibility to yourself to it. Because when you love something, it gives you the ultimate understanding. And love don't mean it gotta be good. Love don't mean it's always gonna go great. Love means you understand it, you hold it into a passion essence. You have an appreciation for it, a want and a need, and a return and give. It's a duality to it. And when you love whatever it is, whether it's music and creation, whether it's your job, you not only have the responsibility to your love to that, but yourself. One of the key things that I seen in this whole conversation today, outside of what he said, he had a love for what he done. And in that love for what he done, he always did what? He put the equation of himself in it. It was always what he was gonna do with it, because he had an appreciation for it. Don't lose that appreciation. Don't lose it to marketing. Don't lose it to radio. Don't lose it to Instagram and Facebook. Don't lose that love for the family member who says it's no good, or the person that when you get into a new situation always gotta find the bad. He said, watch who claps for you and who just watches. A few weeks ago, I did a post. And I said, it's amazing how when I'm trying to do something, people will watch and not say nothing. And then the moment that they see it happen, it's like they don't like me. It's like they got an attitude. Something's wrong now. That's when you know. That's when you know the appreciation for what you do is flourishing. You know why? Because the people see it and they can't ignite the love for themselves, so it translates to hate. Love yourself, love what you do, understand what you do, and keep putting the energy to that. Shout out to everybody that was jumping on. I did my little Sherman, my little spill for today. But shout out to everybody on the MJMG Presents app. This is where we do highlighting, giving the superheroes. We humanize the superheroes here, and what I mean by that is we just give real conversations that regardless of what you do, I don't care if you a Jets player or a janitor, I don't care if you are 49ers or ride the one train, whatever it is you do in life, you could take bits and pieces, add it to your life, and that's what we want to do here. So shout out to all y'all, because if there wasn't no viewers, it would just be a super dope conversation, and trust and believe, I love super dope conversations. So it wouldn't went to waste, but nonetheless, I love sharing it with y'all. So we're gonna end this with one more video, close it out. This video is called Return of the Kings by Thomas English. Y'all have a good night, be safe. Shout out to everybody again, man. Much love to y'all. Have a good night, y'all.
SHU Studio, we get busy.
You were set to do great things. Don't forget that you were king. You were set to do great things. Don't forget that you were king. I'm one of them ones that procreated and handle mine. Raise my kids like them flags on them poles that fly through the face of adversity and the coldest stairs. They say my skin is my sin. They like, who the hell cares? Rather see me dead or in jail, or hope that I fail. Some wish that I was dead already and burning in hell. Racism alive and well. Quote that, bruh. Prevalent before my son even know who I was young and dumb and full of semen. Young and ages still dreaming. Conspiracy to destroy young black males. What you reading? The handwriting on the wall. It's speaking to me. It says, stand up, king, and unique calligraphy. Blessing to see your seeds grown, holding their own. Know me and them other parted ways and moved on. My home is my throne, where my crown be on. In this concrete jungle where we must stay strong. King.
Don't be lying, oh, oh. Don't be lying, oh, oh. Don't be lying, oh, oh. I be the king, never look for trouble. If you no big, better meet in juggle.